So next up, podcast listeners, we have Disney's Bob Iger may become ambassador to China. That's right, Disney's Bob Iger may become ambassador to China. Yes, we know his name is Bob Iger, but we're going to call him Bob Iger. And there's a reason why we're going to call him Bob Iger, and we are going to explain. So, Joe Biden has discussed with Bob Iger, he's the chairman of the board of the Walt Disney Company. Joe Biden has discussed with him, with Bob Iger, the idea that, Bob Iger might become the new U.S. ambassador to China. So in the Wall Street Journal, I'm going to just read a couple of paragraphs about this, and we're going to set it up for you. So Walt Disney Company Executive Chairman Robert Iger has told people close to the incoming Biden administration that he would be interested in serving as U.S. ambassador to China, according to people familiar with the matter. Mr. Iger, who served as Disney's CEO for 15 years until being named executive chairman of the board earlier this year, would be an unorthodox choice for a posting that typically goes to governors or senators. Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle have criticized Disney's dealings in China, or have questioned whether President-elect Joe Biden would be sufficiently tough on Beijing. So his possible appointment may draw political backlash. In recent weeks, high-dollar donors have begun to quietly discuss ambassadorships with Joe Biden's transition team. Though they have been told cabinet positions are the current focus, people familiar with the discussion said Mr. Iger has been a supporter of Mr. Biden's and has a long-running relationship with China's President Xi Jinping. Mr. Biden has announced plans to nominate one ambassador to date, Linda Thomas Greenfield, for ambassador to the United Nations. The most highly prized ambassadorships are expected to go to people who have been with Joe forever, said a person familiar with the discussion. So Bob Iger has a long personal relationship with the president of China, Xi Jinping. And so, therefore, Bob Iger, between that relationship and between the amount of money that he has given to Joe Biden, makes him one of the top people out there, one of the top choices to become the United States ambassador to China. But we're going to call Disney's Bob Iger, because good old Bob Iger Disney filmed Mulan a couple of years ago, but it was only just released a few months ago. So Mulan is initially, I guess it was what, Chris? It wasn't Mulan, it was a animated show, and now they made Mulan into a motion picture that was just released a few months ago. So here's the storyline of Mulan. It's released by Disney a couple of months ago. When the Emperor of China issues a decree that one man per family must serve in the imperial army to defend the country from northern invaders, Hua Mulan, the eldest daughter of an honored warrior, steps in to take the place of her ailing father. Masquerading as a man, she is tested every step of the way and must harness her inner strength and embrace her true potential. It is an epic journey that will transform her into an honored warrior and earn her the respect of a grateful nation and a proud father. Okay, so that's Mulan. Why does it matter? Well, because it was shot in New Zealand, but also in the Xinjiang province in China, where there are the Uighur Muslim minorities, right? So you have at least 1 million Uighur Muslims who are in concentration camps in China. And Disney shot this movie in the Xinjiang region where they have these concentration camps, and that's exactly what they are. China calls them re-education camps. That's the traditional communist term for putting people in prison and trying to brainwash them into thinking only the communist way. But they do it by force, and they also do it by using torture. And so Mulan was shot in that area of China, and Disney had no problems with it, right? No problems with that whatsoever. They never talked about it. Instead, they shoot a movie that basically glorifies China and makes China look like this wonderful place where women have so many opportunities, especially this woman, Mulan. who goes and, tries to act like a man and goes and fights for the army against the northern invaders of China. In other words, really building up China. And that's the whole Disney thing, right? It's all about money in big corporate America, and this is all by Iger, right? And if that weren't enough, Bob Iger and Disney, they gave $5 million to Black Lives Matter. Isn't that interesting? So Disney gave $5 million to Black Lives Matter, and here's what it says in Fortune magazine. Disney made a $5 million pledge to nonprofit social justice organizations on Wednesday as demonstrations over the police killing of George Floyd continued across the country. Civil rights organizations, the NAACP, will receive $2 million of the total pledge. In a statement, Disney said the donation would further their long-standing work promoting social justice by eliminating disparities and racial discrimination through their advocacy and education programs. Disney did not identify the other nonprofits that would stand to receive the remaining $3 million, but the organizations would be those that advance social justice. The killing of George Floyd has forced our nation to once again confront the long history of injustice that Black people in America have suffered, and it is critical that we stand together, speak out, and do everything in our power to ensure the acts of racism and violence are never tolerated, Bob Chapek said, chief executive of Walt Disney Corporation, in a statement. So think about this, podcast listeners. You have Bob Iger, who is the CEO and he's the chairman of the board of Disney. And you have Bob Chapek, who is the chief executive officer of Disney. And together they're working on the behalf of Disney, and they give $5 million to Black Lives Matter, which is a Marxist organization, without question. And they give the money to the NAACP, which is, not a Marxist organization, but the rest of the money clearly went to Black Lives Matter. But Disney's not admitting it. And they say that they want to fight for social justice. And they want to do what's right because of people that have, not been treated well over. And they go to China and they shoot a movie in the Xinjiang province where the Uighur Muslims are literally being tortured, killed, and they're inside of concentration camps. And so that's why we're calling Bob Iger Bob Uighur. But if you think that's not bad enough, here's Bob Iger on CNBC not that long ago. He's on CNBC and he's talking about the Disney Magic Kingdom in China, right? So Disney built the Magic Kingdom in China. If you've ever been there, I'm sure you have, certainly in Florida or maybe in California, to the wonderful world of Disney's Magic Kingdom. They got all the rides and all it's a theme park. So Disney built a theme park in China, and here's Bob Iger describing what they did in China. We have that clip in, here it is.
Architecture that is sort of old Shanghai architecture. When people see it, I recognize that, I like that. So there's a tremendous amount here that is very distinctly Chinese. And we're not expecting people to come in and say, wow, that's very Chinese. We're expecting to leave with the sense that they experienced something that was very much Disney, but very much felt like theirs, very much felt like home.
Yes, that's Bob Iger saying they built a theme park in China, and he wanted people to feel like they were at home. He wanted to put lots of Chinese flair and Chinese historical thing. Obviously, they were all approved by President Xi, right? Because in China, you can't be free to open up a theme park that in any way, shape, or form does not follow the communist government's dictates. So Bob Iger is close to President Xi because how else did he, as the former CEO of Disney and now the chairman of the board, get the theme park into, of course, China? And then films Mulan, right, in China, in the Xinjiang province, and then basically says, well, he's really woke because he's giving money to Black Lives Matter, but he doesn't care. Which, by the way, is one thing, but then he doesn't care and looks the other way when people are in concentration camps, the Uighur Muslims, at least 1 million of them. So here's an article, I just want to read real briefly a part of it, and it's the AP. Disney criticized for filming Mulan in China's Xinjiang province, and it says the following. Disney is under fire for filming part of its live-action reboot Mulan in Xinjiang, the region in China where the government has been accused of human rights abuses against the Uighur Muslims and other predominantly Muslim minorities. The final credits in the film, which was released on Disney Plus last week and is being rolled out in several countries this month, thank propaganda departments in Xinjiang and the Public Security Bureau of Turpan, a Uighur majority city in the region. Human rights activists and some China experts have taken no social media to condemn Disney. They've taken to social media to condemn Disney for turning a blind eye to alleged abuses in Xinjiang. In other words, Disney actually thanked the public agency departments in China and their propaganda departments for allowing them to film in the Uighur majority city in the region. And it's just disgusting. And yet, Disney is, of course, at the same time, giving money to Black Lives Matter, another Marxist organization. That's the connection, right? You got two Marxist organizations. You got the Chinese Marxists and you've got BLM Marxist. And that's the combination there. And then you have Bob Iger now being potentially appointed as ambassador to China by Joe Biden. And that's why we're calling him Bob Uighur instead of Bob Iger, because I think that is the perfect term. I almost hope he becomes the ambassador, so that's what we can call him between now and the next 4 years. And that's Disney's Bob Uighur may become ambassador to China.